Right, welcome back everybody, and of course not business as usual today here on Morning Live as we talk to the passing of former President Robert Mugabe, who we got word in the early hours of this morning that he had passed away aged 95 in a hospital in Singapore. Of course, the President of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, taking to Twitter confirming the passing of the elderly statesman, and we in fact are waiting for the President to come and address. That's Emmerson Mnangagwa. He's going to be addressing the media from a hotel in Cape Town, and that's where Mwandile Mbeje is. We're waiting on that address. So he's there, and I suppose we're going to get an update from him on it.
Indeed, outside the Mount Nelson Hotel. So it's over to you, Mwandile.
Thank you very much, Sakina and Leanne. Of course, where we're standing right now, it's outside the hotel where the President of Zimbabwe is staying, President Emmerson Mnangagwa. So since the news broke this morning that the former President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, has passed on, we have seen his Twitter account as well confirming that from several sources. So we are hoping to be able to be led in. We've been having some of the discussions with the delegation that is attending here at WEF, Sakina and Leanne, basically for them to be able to speak to the media, and they are busy working on that right now. They just said perhaps we need to give them a bit of time because the news is still early. They want really to be able to know what exactly to say, because this thing happened when they were outside of their home country, Zimbabwe. But of course, it's breaking news, so we're hoping that in the next perhaps few minutes or perhaps an hour, so we would be able to give you an update insofar as what is it that the President of Zimbabwe will be telling the nation. I mean, they know that SABC, for example, SABC News Channel, goes as far as the rest of the continent. I think it will be very proper for them if they feel they need to do an address, because it will be covered across the African continent. Of course, they would want to reach their people in Zimbabwe. They have their press delegation that is here, and we're expecting that perhaps they would allow everyone to go in there. But as I'm saying to you, we've been having discussions with members of the delegation. Perhaps they will be able to then confirm, and then in the coming minutes or hours, we'll be able to give you an update.
Cape Town, outside the Mount Nelson Hotel. That, of course, is the venue where the President of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is going to be addressing, I suppose, the world, actually, as a former President, Robert Mugabe, a global figure, as we have been reporting on here this morning.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see, you know, all these packages that have been put together on the life of Robert Mugabe. But, you know, as the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says, we need to be careful of that single narrative, because he wasn't only the Mugabe that presided over the chaos in the latter parts of his presidency in Zimbabwe. There was a freedom fighter, there was a revolutionary, there was a father, there are many facets.
Highly intelligent
the most educated president in the world. He had 7 genuine undergrad degrees, 2 master's degrees from great institutions, and he had 11 honorary doctorates to his name. So he was, without a doubt, the most educated president. And I know people are going to talk about that and the fact that perhaps it didn't amount to much. But my point simply right now is that we need to give a proper reflection and look at the man holistically. I think that we are better served in that way.
Well, I suppose one credit that we can most definitely give to the former President Robert Mugabe was an ultimate Pan-African. Let's take a look at this side of him, and this is a report from our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena.
From north to south, respected by some, while others are highly critical of Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the freedom fighter. But for the parties which believe in Pan-Africanism, Mugabe is an outstanding leader who made mistakes like any other leader, although some were very costly.
One thing that you cannot take away from President Robert Mugabe is the fact that he's played a monumental role not only in the liberation of Zimbabwe, but in the liberation struggle of many countries around the continent and in the SADC region in particular. I know of leaders that he has supported during the time when his government was still doing the right thing, for example, in Zimbabwe. But the fact of the matter is now he's become one of those leaders who want to die in office, which is very unfortunate. He's turned himself into one of those big men of Africa who think that they are more important than their countries and more important than their continents. I think as he gets ready to celebrate another milestone in his personal life, the message from us young people should be clear. It's time for him to go and retire, so that young people in Zimbabwe can then begin the process of rebuilding that country, so that we as young people who are next in line as leaders can also begin to build networks between these countries in the SADC region and take the development of the SADC region forward.
ZANU-PF had a strong bond with the PAC during the struggle, and the two parties still share the same views on the land question. The same with APC and AZAPO. But it's the EFF leaders' relationship with President Robert Mugabe which raised eyebrows. Julius Malema, as the youth league leader of the ANC, revered the veteran leader. He even paid a visit to Zimbabwe to meet him. And it is this visit that contributed to his radical statements which led to his expulsion from the ANC. The SABC has since reliably learned that when Malema was expelled from the ANC, Mugabe commented that, to quote, "You don't do that to the young, energetic leader. You rather channel his energy